The rising starlet Lenny Xu was in a car accident and was carried to the hospital by my husband. Her uterus was severely injured, which could likely lead to infertility or death from massive bleeding. She demanded that I perform the surgery for her, or she would rather endure the pain and die. In my past life, although I knew she had an affair with my husband, I still upheld my duty as a doctor and took on the surgery. The surgery was successful. Yet afterward she kept complaining of abdominal pain and slandered me online for being unprofessional. This cost me my job, got me disowned by my family, and ultimately led me to choose suicide by wrist cutting due to depression. Meanwhile, she stepped over my corpse and openly got together with my husband. After being reborn, I looked at the woman before me and pointed to another surgery waiting for me. This operation is equally important. Find someone else to do it. Her surgery carries an extremely high risk factor. Right now, she either transfers to another hospital or stays here waiting to die. Doctor, please save her. She's still so young. She can't lose her uterus. When my husband, Knox Wei, carried the blood-soaked Lenny Xu into the hospital, his expression was frantic. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought the woman in his arms was his wife. But Knox Wei's wife is me, the protégé of this hospital's most renowned gynecological expert and also a doctor here. My mentor retired last month, and when it comes to gynecological surgeries, I'm currently the top authority here. Knox Wei had come to the hospital to pick me up several times before, so my colleagues all knew him. So when they arrived at the hospital, a colleague who couldn't stand the sight secretly sent this video to my phone right away. The colleague also said, "That woman was holding his hand, calling him husband and begging him to save her. You'd better brace yourself." Even though I had already experienced something like this in my past life, I couldn't help but tear up when I heard my colleague's well-meaning warning. In my past life, when Lenny Xu falsely accused me of tampering with the surgery out of personal grudges, they had also stood up to speak for me. However, with the overwhelming number of online trolls attacking me, those supportive comments ultimately sank without a trace. I quickly expressed my gratitude. "Thank you for your concern." After glancing anxiously toward the emergency department, my colleague urgently said to me, "Oh no, it looks like she'll be transferred to your department. If it's a gynecological surgery, this case might end up in your hands. They're getting on the elevator now. You should avoid them quickly." My colleague was worried that if I suddenly confronted this despicable pair, I might act impulsively and do something extreme, which could jeopardize my promotion. I slightly furrowed my brows as the elevator doors opened, revealing the patient being wheeled out. None other than Lenny Xu, with my extremely anxious husband, Knox Wei, standing beside her. The moment he looked up and saw me, he instinctively lowered his head, but Lenny Xu, lying on the stretcher, suddenly sat up. Facing the group of doctors and nurses rushing over, she pointed directly at me, bypassing them. "I heard she's the protégé of the gynecology master. I want her to perform my surgery personally." The news of Lenny Xu's car accident has now spread all over the internet. She was taken to our hospital by ambulance, and the video of it was recorded and posted online. This surgery is now under the watchful eyes of the entire internet, and it concerns the reputation of our hospital. When the deputy director arrived and heard these words, he instinctively looked at me. "Xiao Li, since Ms. Xu trusts you so much, you should personally perform this surgery for her." At this time in my previous life, I was about to be promoted to attending physician. If it weren't for Lenny Xu spreading rumors and slandering me online, I would have already been an attending physician. At the time, I was falsely accused by Lenny Xu of tampering with the surgery, and this vice president played a significant role in it. The vice president deliberately deleted the surveillance footage from the operating room that day to ensure the promotion slot would go to Zhong Na, who works in the same department as me, leaving me with no way to defend myself. He's saying this now because he knows this surgery is highly risky. If I don't take it, and Lenny Xu refuses to transfer the patient, the surgery will ultimately fall to Zhong Na. But Zhong Na is quite careless and has already made several minor mistakes during surgeries. He's afraid Zhong Na won't handle the surgery well and will mess up, so it's best to dump this hot potato on me. Unfortunately, he miscalculated. I pointed to the adjacent operating room. I have a surgery scheduled at 10:30. The patient is currently being prepped. It's an emergency ectopic pregnancy case, and her condition is extremely critical. I can't perform 2 surgeries simultaneously, so you'll have to find someone else. I recommend transferring to another hospital. In my previous life, because I was forced to take on Lenny Shu's surgery, the ectopic pregnancy patient was found unconscious in the outpatient building lobby. Jong Na had no choice but to take on that surgery despite the circumstances, but in the end, the patient died on the operating table due to sudden massive hemorrhage during the procedure. She was a 25-year-old girl, in the prime of her life. Her husband, reportedly a military officer, arrived only to find her body had already been moved to the morgue. In my past life, I deeply regretted this outcome. After being reborn, the first thing I did was rush to the outpatient lobby an hour earlier, find her, and urgently arrange for her hospitalization and surgery. I am confident and certain that I can save her, and I very much want to save her. Saving her is infinitely better than saving someone like Lenny Shu, who is utterly ungrateful. After hearing this, Lenny Shu, lying on the bed in pain, shouted at me angrily, "No, get her another doctor. I want you, operate on me now." She knew very well that my medical skills were excellent and could ensure her safe recovery from the operation. Not only was she eyeing my husband, but she was also very satisfied with my expertise. Moreover, she believed that I would never risk my career by tampering with the surgery, or else all my years of hard work would be wasted. I sneered, "On what grounds? Is your life more valuable than others? The ectopic pregnancy patient is already showing signs of heavy bleeding. If your willfulness delays her surgery and causes any mishap, can you bear that responsibility?" With such a heavy accusation thrown at her, if Lenny Shu had even a shred of rationality left, she would know what to do next. She could quickly transfer to another hospital, or have my husband use his financial power to summon a team of experts for emergency surgery. Neither would be an issue. But Lenny Shu, relying on her youth, insisted on locking horns with me. "What does her surgery have to do with me? You just don't want to operate on me because your husband likes me." She just blatantly exposed her extramarital affair, drawing gasps from everyone around. This female celebrity really has thick skin. But Lenny Shu didn't care about any of that. All she knew was that this was her chance to take me down, after which she would rightfully become Mrs. Wei. Ignoring the disdainful or astonished looks from those around her, she attacked me again. "Shouldn't doctors maintain professional boundaries? My current status is first and foremost that of a patient. You can't refuse me, or you'd be disregarding human life. Is that how disregarding human life is supposed to be used?" Trying to guilt-trip me. I almost laughed in frustration at her. I adjusted my mask and turned to leave. "I still have preoperative preparations to do. I don't have time to deal with your nonsense here. Transfer to another hospital quickly. There's still time." Seeing that her tactics didn't work on me, Lenny Shu turned pitifully to the anxious Nox Wei beside her. "Darling, I'm in so much pain. Please beg her for me. I only want her to perform the surgery." The moment Nox Wei's gaze met mine, he immediately looked away out of embarrassment and guilt. He never expected such a coincidence, not only running into his affair partner in front of me, but also having her insist that I be the one to perform the surgery. But the moment he thought about how I hadn't gotten pregnant in the 5 years since our marriage, he believed it was my problem. Lenny Shu had already promised to bear his children in the future. He couldn't just stand by and watch Lenny Shu lose her uterus, cutting off the Wei family's lineage. With this in mind, he steeled himself and looked at me, his eyes filled with impatience. "Even if you're angry about my infidelity, there should be limits. Lenny is in this state now. As a doctor, saving lives should be your primary duty. If you dare to stand by and do nothing, I'll divorce you." I sneered inwardly. Was this the man I had loved for 5 years? At the critical moment, he stood by Lenny Shu's side, letting her make things difficult for me. But I'm not afraid anymore. At worst, I'll just walk away from that family. I've already died once. Would I let someone who betrayed me so easily influence my decisions? Without looking back, I just threw him these words. "Then let's divorce. May the bitch and the dog live happily ever after." Knox Wei probably never expected that the woman who had been doting on him after marriage would one day argue with him like this. He only felt that his prestigious name as the second young master of the Wei family had been ruthlessly trampled and ground into the dirt. Facing my retreating figure, he knew this was a hospital. He couldn't drag me away for questioning during work hours, so he could only rage helplessly. Fine, let's divorce, don't you dare regret it. I ignored him, already turning to enter the sterilization room and throwing myself into my work. Behind me, the heavy iron door slowly closed, cutting off everything from the outside world. At this moment, nothing else in the universe mattered to me. I was just a doctor. And my mind was solely focused on my patient. How to ensure she safely left the operating table, that was now my most important task. Outside, just a wall away, in the hospital corridor, Lenny Shu was still throwing a tantrum. I don't care, I want her to perform my surgery. If she refuses, I'll die right here in your hospital today. Knox Wei initially tried to reason with her. Lenny has already started another surgery, it'll be hours before she's done, and your condition can't wait. Let me arrange a transfer for you. The public hospital 5 kilometers from here is highly reputable. They'll definitely ensure you leave the operating table safely. If it weren't for the fact that after the car accident, Lenny Shu had insisted the ambulance bring her here for treatment, she should have been taken to the top-tier public hospital closer to the accident scene, not this high-end private hospital. The deputy director was also afraid that Lenny Shu might die in the hospital due to her willful delay, which would escalate the situation once public opinion flared up. He had no choice but to join in persuading her. Indeed, Miss Shu, perhaps you should consider transferring to another hospital. Professor Bai has already retired, and the other gynecology specialist is currently on leave. Aside from Dr. Li, the only surgeon available for your procedure here is Dr. Zhong. But Dr. Zhong is relatively inexperienced. For safety's sake, I also recommend you transfer immediately. But Lenny Shu wouldn't listen. Her mind and eyes were completely fixated on the imminent position of Mrs. Wei. She even asked the deputy director, how much longer until her surgery is over? I'm willing to wait for her, seeing her so determined. The deputy director arranged for her to undergo a full-body examination in the adjacent inpatient ward while having someone call into the operating room to ask the nursing staff. The answer came quickly. It could be as short as 1 or 2 hours, or as long as 7 or 8 hours. If Lenny Shu listens to reason now, she can still keep her uterus, but she insists on having her own way. I'll wait for her. Help me arrange her next surgery. Help me get the preoperative preparations done first. With a pale face, Lenny Shu, assisted by the nurse, began prepping for surgery by shaving and changing into a hospital gown, while the deputy director and Knox Wei were ushered out of the room. Fearing potential danger, Knox Wei even called his secretary. Get me the most authoritative experts available from nearby hospitals right now, no matter the cost. Hearing this from inside, Lenny Shu immediately began shouting, No, I want Lenny Shu. You're not allowed to call anyone else. Or I'll break up with you. Knox Wei had no choice but to give up. Then, with a pale face, Lenny Shu waited while inhaling oxygen, even finding time to record a video to interact with her fans, until half an hour later, when a large amount of blood suddenly gushed out beneath her. The surgery finally ended 5 hours later. Looking at the wound that had finally stopped bleeding, I handed the hemostat to my assistant, drenched in sweat. The rest is up to you. I stepped back weakly, leaning against the wall to rest, but my legs kept giving way. Standing for too long, combined with extreme tension, had left me completely drained of strength. A nearby nurse quickly asked with concern, Are you okay? I wiped the sweat from my forehead and nodded. Just like in my past life, halfway through the surgery, the patient suddenly experienced massive bleeding. Fortunately, I was well prepared and turned the situation around beautifully, saving the patient's life. Although one fallopian tube had to be removed and the blood loss was significant. With proper rest and recovery, she would still have a chance to conceive in the future. As I stepped out of the operating room, I found myself in the long corridor lined with operating rooms. Even though all the doors were tightly shut, for a brief moment, I thought I heard Lenny Shu's cries of pain. Perhaps a hallucination caused by the immense stress. For a fleeting moment, I even felt as though I had returned to my past life, back to the time right after I had finished operating on Lenny Shu. At that time, I didn't take advantage of her vulnerable state after surgery just because she had an affair with my husband. I only wished for her to recover safely and then stay out of our lives, but she repaid kindness with enmity and destroyed everything I had, all for the sake of a man, in my past life. When I used a scalpel to slit my own artery, my hands were trembling. How utterly desperate I must have been at that moment. The heavy iron gate slowly opened before me, outside. Knox Wei thought it was Lenny Shu being wheeled out. He came to me immediately. "Doctor, how is Lenny doing?" Yet as soon as he looked up and saw the exhaustion in my eyes, he fell silent. I frowned slightly. She didn't choose to transfer hospitals. Instead, she opted for Zhong Na to perform her surgery. I had clearly mentioned to Knox Wei before that Zhong Na was an unskilled doctor who got her position through connections, yet he agreed to let Zhong Na operate on Lenny Shu. It seems he doesn't love Lenny Shu as much as I thought. He's practically playing with her life. Knox Wei clearly understood my implication. With a worried expression, he said, "I didn't want to either, but there was no time left. Her condition is critical. Lenny Shu isn't my patient now. Whether she's in danger or not has nothing to do with me. Exhausted as I am right now, I'm in no mood to discuss the details of a third party with him." I turned and headed towards my office. Right now, I was so hungry that my vision was blurring, and all I wanted was to quickly eat something to replenish my energy. Suddenly remembering something, I quickly turned on my phone's front camera, tapped the record function, and hid it on a nearby bookshelf, aiming it at myself. I showed my slightly trembling hands to the camera. "Just finished a 5-hour surgery. My hands barely feel like my own anymore." Then, with practiced ease, I pulled out a pack of crackers from the drawer and began wolfing them down, washing them back with gulps of cold water from my cup. The colleague sitting next to me looked puzzled and asked, "Are you recording a video or live streaming? The hospital doesn't allow live broadcasts." Lenny, shushed them and flashed a knowing smile. "It's a video. You'll see its purpose later." With that, I started eating while jotting down the surgical notes. Suddenly, with a loud bang, Knox Wei barged in without knocking. His eyes were bloodshot as he grabbed my hand. "Lenny is in grave danger right now. The hospital has approved your participation in the surgery. Hurry and save her." I knew Lenny Shu wouldn't let me off so easily. Encountering danger, and they want me to join. Is the vice president trying to make me take the fall for Zhong Na? Lenny Shu would certainly be pleased to see it happen, but I don't want my career destroyed again. I pointed at my trembling hands. "I'm afraid I can't help. I need at least an hour to recover. Use your financial power to bring in an expert team from outside." Knox Wei, seeing this, said hoarsely, "The experts I called won't arrive that quickly. She might not make it. If anything happens to her, I won't let you off." I found it amusing and looked up at him coldly. What does it have to do with me? I'm neither her attending physician nor involved in her treatment process. The car accident happened because she was playing too wildly with you in the car, distracting the driver who then crashed into the roadside greenery. Otherwise, the injury wouldn't have just happened to hit her uterus. What does that have to do with me? Did I tell you to have an affair with such daring moves? Or was I the one driving? Clearly, there was a more reputable and closer top-tier hospital near the accident site, yet she insisted on coming all the way here to have me, the legal wife, perform her surgery. Her malicious intent couldn't be more obvious. Knox Wei was left speechless by my retort because he knew it was all true. He just didn't expect that I even knew about his affair with Lenny Shu in the car. After a long pause, he guiltily turned his head away. "Honey, you've got it all wrong. I didn't mess around with her in the car, and we're not in the kind of relationship you're thinking of. Let's talk about this when we get home." With that, he hurriedly left my office in a fluster. After witnessing the entire process, my colleague gave me a thumbs up. "You're clairvoyant." I smiled bitterly. Once bitten, twice shy. It was only after I died in my previous life and became a ghost, drifting back to the wedding room, that I overheard Knox Wei and Lenny Shu arguing and learned the truth about Lenny Shu's car accident. It was truly disgusting. After exactly an hour's rest, The second scheduled surgery of the day was ready. I walked through the fingerprint lock and stepped back into the corridor of the operating room, just in time to see Lenny Xu, who had been vomiting uncontrollably, being wheeled out of a nearby operating room. Aside from Zhong Na, she was accompanied by an expert who had arrived later. But by the time the expert got there, the surgery was already over, leaving no chance for intervention. When Lenny Xu saw me, her eyes burned with venom, she opened her mouth, ready to curse at me. But due to severe blood loss, she immediately started retching again the moment she tried to speak, her face alarmingly pale and ghastly. When I returned to my office after finishing the second surgery, Zhong Na was already waiting inside for me. Upon seeing me, she flashed a triumphant smile. "This surgery was a success. You didn't expect that, did you, Ms. Xu has agreed to promote our hospital more. From now on, I'll be the hospital's living advertisement. The position of chief physician is definitely mine." Chief physician. In my past life, if it hadn't been for the vice president and Lenny Xu teaming up to sabotage me, the title of chief physician should have been mine. It seems in this lifetime, the two of them have reached a consensus and joined forces. But I'm not afraid. This time, I didn't take on Lenny Xu's surgery, so whether she recovers or not won't affect me. Moreover, because the first ectopic pregnancy surgery I performed earlier was particularly successful, the patient's family was extremely satisfied when they arrived and even mentioned giving me a commendation banner. Now, all the medical staff on this floor say my reputation is the best, and my promotion is already a widely expected outcome. At 6 in the evening, when I finally took off my white coat and left the hospital, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. This dreadful day was finally coming to an end. When I got home, Knox Wei hadn't returned yet. He was probably still at the hospital keeping his Lenny Xu company. In the corner, the vase still held that bouquet of roses celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary. It looked bitterly ironic. I pulled out the flowers and tossed them all into the trash. Through a friend, I contacted a divorce lawyer. After explaining my situation, they promised to draft the divorce agreement for me as soon as possible. This divorce is happening. I mean it, no empty words. Knox Wei didn't return until late at night. When he came back to the master bedroom, exhausted, he initially wanted to coax me and smooth things over with Lenny, but he found that all my belongings in the room had already been packed up and piled in a corner, and I had moved to the secondary bedroom, even locking the door behind me. "Honey, open the door, let's talk." He patiently knocked. "Talk to my lawyer tomorrow." After that, no matter how much he knocked, I ignored him. It was too late. I needed to sleep, as there was a lot of work waiting for me the next day. Since I've decided to divorce, I won't dwell on anything else. Past affections, betrayals, they're all trivial compared to death. Now, my future is bright. I haven't been abandoned by my family. I'm free from depression, cheerful and confident. That night, I slept peacefully until dawn. While Knox Wei, on the other hand, didn't sleep a wink. One moment he worried about the truth behind Lenny Xu's car accident being exposed online, tarnishing his image as an entrepreneur. The next, he fretted over whether Lenny Xu's post-surgery condition would affect her fertility. And then he agonized over whether I was serious about divorcing him and how much of his assets I might take. Early in the morning, I very disciplinedly stepped off the treadmill and then sat at the table to begin enjoying today's breakfast. Knox Wei finally got out of bed. With dark circles under his eyes, he sat across from me, looking at the large and small packed bags in the living room. Rubbing his temples with a headache, he said, "Are you really going to divorce me? I was just saying angry words yesterday." I curled my lips into a smile, looking at him with eyes full of disdain. "Yes, let's get divorced. The divorce agreement has already been drafted and will be delivered to your office this morning. Sign it, and we can part ways amicably." Knox Wei finally panicked. It wasn't that he couldn't bear to part with me. Otherwise, he wouldn't have cheated. He's afraid I'll take a share of the marital assets after divorce. As long as we don't divorce, I can't take those assets away. Finally, his tone softened, and he reached out to take my hand. "Honey, just forgive me this once, okay? As for Lenny Xu, if she has a child in the future, I'll bring it back for you to raise. I won't marry her. You'll always be my lawful wife, my first and only." But why should I tolerate my husband having an affair and even fathering a child with another woman? Is raising the child of his mistress some kind of favor to me? I felt utterly disgusted and withdrew my hand, vigorously wiping it on a napkin. No need, you two can raise as many as you want. The moving company I hired will be here soon. Here's the house key. The next time we meet will be at the Civil Affairs office. With that, I flung the house key onto the table, picked up my handbag, and walked out of that home. No matter how much he tried to stop me, I had already discussed the divorce with my family, even the elders in our clan. After a brief online family meeting last night, where I threatened to cut ties, they finally stopped urging me to reconcile with Knox Wei and reluctantly agreed to the divorce. Marriage is the union of two families, and divorce is the separation of two families. The financial entanglements may not be completely severed for the time being, but future cooperation will never be as close as before. Once divorce is announced to the elders, there's no turning back. Regardless of whether Knox Wei opposes it or not, the divorce is inevitable. Knox Wei didn't put up much resistance. He believed the reason we had no children in 5 years lay with me. And I only took what I was entitled to ensure his future children could legitimately inherit the family assets. He gritted his teeth and agreed. Early the next morning, I took a day off specifically to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau with Knox Wei. 30 days later, when the divorce cooling-off period ended, we would be completely done with each other. As we left the Civil Affairs Bureau, Knox Wei sneered, "You're infertile. Without me, you're nothing." I smiled back, "Without you, I'm still Dr. Lee, and also Ms. Lee. I have education and background. I can live well on my own, and there's nothing wrong with my fertility." The premarital health report from 5 years ago, I've seen it. You were too busy to read it back then, so I helped you keep it in the bottom drawer of the safe. Take a look when you have time. Knox Wei panicked. "What do you mean by that? How could I possibly?" I didn't respond, but instead hailed a taxi and left the Civil Affairs office on my own. Between us, the one who was infertile wasn't me, but Knox Wei with his irregular lifestyle. He had azoospermia, the kind that couldn't be cured. I had known this result since our premarital checkup 5 years ago, but I kept it to myself to avoid hurting his pride, especially since I hadn't planned to have children within those 5 years, so I didn't take the initiative to tell him, waiting for him to discover that premarital checkup result himself later. Who would have thought this would become his excuse for cheating? How utterly ironic. When I returned to the hospital, my colleagues seemed to be looking at me differently. Did Lenny Shu cyberbully me again? Back in the office, I immediately asked my colleague Xiaofen, "What's wrong with them?" Xiaofen secretly told me, "These past few days, to suppress you and boost Zhong Enei's reputation." Lenny Shu has been bragging to her online followers during live streams about how exceptional Zhong Enei's medical skills are. Although Lenny Shu occasionally experienced abdominal pain these past few days, Zhong Enei, as the attending physician, didn't take it seriously, assuming it was a normal post-surgery symptom. As a result, today Lenny Shu suddenly complained of unbearable abdominal pain. After an examination, it was discovered that there was a surgical complication, which had already led to infection and pus formation, and may require a hysterectomy. Zhong Enei has already been suspended because of this, and an investigation into the medical malpractice will soon begin. It's likely that even the deputy director won't escape shared responsibility. Lenny Shu specifically requested that you perform this surgery again, no matter how long the wait, so she won't rest until she drags me down. Is that it? Originally, I didn't want to escalate personal matters, but since she keeps targeting me, it would be impolite not to return the favor. During the lunch break, I called a friend who runs a media company to ask for a small favor. Half an hour later, a certain paparazzi dropped a bombshell. Popular starlet Lenny Shu caught cheating with a married wealthy heir. Videos of Knox Wei carrying Lenny Shu to the hospital, Lenny Shu crying and begging me to perform surgery on her. Footage of that conversation between Knox Wei and me in the office, and photos of Knox Wei and me at the Civil Affairs Bureau getting divorced were all bundled and thrown online. There was even roadside surveillance footage of the two crawling out of the car in disheveled clothes on the day of the car accident. Everything was meticulously arranged to nail them down from every angle. leaving them no chance to recover. The internet exploded instantly, with countless onlookers rushing to join the drama. By the time Lenny Xu and Knox Wei tried to control the narrative, it was already too late to cover anything up. Knox Wei doesn't have social media accounts, but Lenny Xu does. Her account, with 5 million followers, was instantly flooded by netizens, who tore into her mercilessly. Lenny Xu is vicious. After the car accident, she deliberately went to the ex-wife's hospital. Was she trying to humiliate her? How could she have the nerve to demand that the ex-wife perform surgery on her? I saw right through her scheme. I used to sympathize with her for the car accident, but now I only pity myself for misjudging her character. Lenny Xu deserved that car accident, still pretending to be some innocent little flower. Yet she was already in the car. Support banning Lenny Xu. We can't let people like her corrupt social morals. The original wife is so pitiful. What did she ever do to deserve this? She was almost framed and had her future ruined. Seeing the overwhelmingly negative comments online and the rapidly plummeting stock of the Wei group, I felt a surge of satisfaction. Upon learning about the public backlash, Knox Wei immediately called me, but I didn't answer. I hung up right away. If it weren't for the convenience of handling the divorce paperwork later, I'd have blocked him already. Knox Wei had no choice but to message me on WeChat. "Honey, I know it was you. If you're upset, take it out on me. Just let her go." "Okay, she's already suffered enough," I replied. "She provoked me first. She's still pressuring me to perform her next surgery. Can't she survive without framing me?" Knox Wei pondered for a moment and decided to switch to a conciliatory approach. "Darling, if you're willing to let her off the hook and clarify online that those were all baseless rumors, I can give you an extra 10 million in the divorce settlement. How about it?" I think his focus is misplaced right now. If I were you, I'd immediately apologize to the public to minimize the damage to the company, rather than trying to silence me. But Knox Wei didn't want to lower his noble head or admit he'd made the wrong decision. After some thought, he messaged me, "How about 20 million? As long as you clarify the rumors about our marital issues. It'll stabilize the company's stock price, and Lenny can also avoid this crisis." I quickly replied to him, "I disagree. If you truly care about Lenny Xu, advise her to transfer to another hospital. Don't come bothering me again. As long as her uterus is preserved, she can still have children in the future. Even if you have azoospermia, it's fine. She can use donor sperm. The child may not be yours, but at least your wife will still be yours." After saying that, I immediately took a screenshot and posted it in our shared family group chat, letting everyone see Knox Wei's disgusting behavior. When my mother-in-law saw it in the group, she was the first to speak up. "Azoospermia? How could my son possibly have azoospermia?" Her world had just collapsed. My parents both scolded Knox Wei, saying he deserved what he got today, and chose to leave the group chat, since I was about to divorce Knox Wei, and our families would no longer be relatives in the future. Shortly after, several relatives on my side of the family also chose to leave the group chat. Knox Wei's aunts and uncles on his side all jumped in, chattering away to offer their opinions. Some even suggested passing their own grandsons to Knox Wei as heirs, clearly eyeing his family assets. Some suggested introducing women to him for sperm donation, clearly enjoying the drama without caring about the consequences. Others advised him not to divorce, saying, "Just stay with me and make it work. Since you can't have kids anymore, why stir up so much trouble?" All these meddling comments left Knox Wei fuming with rage. The more I watched, the more satisfied I felt. After getting my fill of the spectacle, I chose to leave the group chat, and the world instantly became peaceful. That afternoon, Knox Wei called someone to arrange Lenny Xu's transfer to another hospital. Probably fearing that Lenny Xu might provoke me again and cause more embarrassment, my contact with Knox Wei decreased. But I remained on good terms with his cousin. She later secretly shared a lot of inside information with me. For example, Knox Wei was removed from the successor list by his father due to his azoospermia and the negative impact on the company's stock price. He was reassigned to manage a branch office in a remote city under the group's name, and his family froze his high-limit credit cards, leaving him to survive on a meager fixed salary from then on. After being blacklisted from the entertainment industry, Lenny Shu faced hefty compensations. Once Knox Wei ran out of money, she couldn't even afford the surgery fees. Not long after, due to severe infection, she was forced to undergo a hysterectomy at a small hospital, forever losing the ability to bear children. Logically speaking, two people without reproductive capabilities should have clung to each other for warmth, but instead, Knox Wei despised Lenny Shu for not even having a uterus. Constantly picking fights with her every few days, Lenny Shu couldn't take it anymore and chose to end her debt-ridden life by jumping off a building one night. The day she died happened to be the end of the divorce cooling-off period. Knox Wei didn't show up at the Civil Affairs Bureau, even though I waited for him there all day. I think he hates me. He wanted to use marriage to hold me back. Since his own life was miserable, he didn't want me to have it easy either. He wanted to prevent me from remarrying, but I never planned to remarry in the first place. Now that I've been promoted and become a chief physician with a higher salary, I have both money and looks. Why should I step back into the grave of marriage? Let him drag it out if he wants. I can proceed with divorce through separation. It'll just take 2 more years. That's all. During those 2 years, I went abroad and successfully conceived a child using a donor's sperm, giving birth to a lovely baby girl. After learning I'd had a daughter, Knox Wei, who had been stalling the divorce, finally relented. He realized his persistence could no longer change anything. It would only result in his household registry listing a child with an unknown father. The day we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to complete the procedures, Knox Wei looked much older. When he received the divorce certificate, he regretted his choice for the first time. I regret it. If I hadn't cheated back then, I sneered, if it were me who died tragically today, and Lenny Shu had one, would you still regret it? You only regret your own failure. I don't need his regret. All I want is for him to live the rest of his life in remorse, seeing no hope in life, and ultimately die in despair. Here is the second article. When the blizzard hit, my husband abandoned me at the bus stop, insisting on turning back to drive his 5 months pregnant subordinate home. I collapsed from the cold, begging him to save me, only to be met with his furious scolding. Have you no compassion? How can you, a healthy person, be jealous of a pregnant woman? But he didn't know. I was pregnant too. Watching the car disappear into the snowy distance, I clutched my belly and let out a desperate, bitter laugh. I don't want the child anymore. I don't want this person anymore either. But when my husband found out I had chosen to have an abortion, he broke down. Holding me by the waist, he cried and begged, "Can we try for another child? We can still have a baby." I slammed the divorce papers in his face and shouted, "Get out." As the blizzard approached, Nash Song abandoned me at the bus stop, insisting on driving back in my dowry car to send his 5 months pregnant subordinate home. Clutching my phone, a chill spread from my fingertips to my entire body. But the forecast says it's going to be a blizzard. You know there's a blizzard coming. Lacey Jew is pregnant now. What if something happens to her? You're a grown adult. Can't you even take care of yourself? He slammed the car door shut, his tone dripping with impatience and disgust. I clung to the car handle, not daring to let go, but I've been feeling unwell all day. Since morning, I've been dizzy and weak, even vomiting constantly. I had considered going to the hospital for a checkup, but thinking about saving money with Nash Song for our future baby, I decided against it. Little did I know he would choose this moment to abandon me at the bus stop. If you're unwell, go straight to the hospital. I'm not a doctor. What good would it do to come to me? He paused, then added, "You're a perfectly healthy person. Why are you jealous of a pregnant woman?" I took a deep breath, struggling to hold back the tears that were about to overflow. Nash Song, I'm asking you one last time. Are you really going to pick her up and leave me behind? Ridiculous. Nash Song didn't even glance at me, starting the engine and driving off without another word. The car sped away, kicking up dust as snowflakes began to drift from the sky. I could no longer hold back my tears. They burst forth uncontrollably. The wind and snow grew increasingly fierce, and I tightened my thin coat. Shivering under the bus stop sign, I forced myself onto the last bus, which was packed with people. The air inside was stale, filled with all sorts of odors. I gripped the handrail tightly, feeling a wave of nausea churning in my stomach. Suddenly, the bus braked sharply, and I was thrown forward, falling heavily to the ground. The crowd around me gasped in shock, but I couldn't feel any pain, only a heart-wrenching, excruciating agony in my abdomen. I felt myself slowly losing consciousness, the sounds around me growing fainter and fainter, until all that remained was a faint buzzing in my ears. When I woke up again, I was already lying on a hospital bed. The pungent smell of disinfectant filled the air, and the white walls felt cold and unfamiliar. A nurse walked over and said indifferently, "You're pregnant, but the baby might not survive. Trying to keep it could endanger the mother. Do you still want it? Pregnant? A baby?" My mind went blank. I'm actually pregnant. But is there still a need for this child? I thought numbly as the doctor asked my family to pick me up. Looking up at the snowflakes filling the sky, I felt an unbearable chill. I also wanted Nash Song to come for me, but when I called, all I got was his impatient refusal. Mechanically, I unlocked my phone. The glaring post in my social feed was from Lacey Jew. The caption reads, "Thank you Nash for protecting me and our child like a warrior. Rain or shine, even in a snowstorm, you still got me home safely." Below it was a photo of steaming chicken soup and a happy maternity shot of Lacey Jew. In the comments section, Nash Song even left a like. Seeing that glowing red heart, I suddenly felt a deep sense of irony. In the blizzard, my husband drove my dowry car to escort another pregnant woman, ignoring my suffering of taking the bus, and even nearly killed our child. A surge of rage rose from the depths of my heart, burning so fiercely that it ached throughout my entire being. I typed this comment below, "Wishing you both a long and happy life together. Tomorrow, we're getting divorced." These words seemed to drain every ounce of strength from my body. I get along well with my colleagues, including Nash Song. I'm sure everyone in the department can see this message. Sure enough, Xiao Mai privately messaged me, "Sis, don't misunderstand Nash, he was just giving her a ride home." I didn't reply. They had no idea that when I needed him the most, he chose another woman and her child instead. At that moment, my heart died. This child is no longer worth keeping. I called the nurse and gave a bleak smile. "No need to preserve the pregnancy. Perform an abortion for me." In a daze, I returned home, my hair already dusted white with snow. Dragging my heavy steps to the bedside, I pulled the thick down comforter over myself, wrapping tightly into a ball, trying to absorb some warmth. Suddenly, with a loud bang, the door was violently kicked open, and Nash Song stood furiously at the entrance, his disheveled tie and dark expression betraying his overwhelming anger. "What did you mean by that comment? You deliberately embarrassed me in front of my subordinates." He tugged at his tie, his tone dripping with impatience. Wrapped in the blanket, I remained motionless, simply watching him quietly. As if he were a stranger, he seemed even more infuriated, raising his voice, "It's just giving a colleague a ride to and from work. Do you have to make such a big deal out of it? Everyone in the company knows Lacey Jew is pregnant. Special circumstances call for special care. Can't you be a little more understanding? Is it really worth arguing with me over something so trivial?" Every word he spoke was like a sharp knife, stabbing straight into my heart. For 3 years of marriage, he had always been gentle and considerate, indulging my every whim, but now, he was accusing me of being petty and narrow-minded. All for another woman. A chill shot up from my feet straight to my heart. I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails nearly dug into my palms. I took a deep breath, struggling to suppress the turmoil inside me, and said, "Narrow-minded, Nash Song, it's snowing today. I just asked you to give me a ride home on your way. Was that so hard? I'm your wife. How many times do I have to tell you? It's just colleagues helping each other out. Mara, I remember you weren't like this before, but I'm pregnant too." My face turned deathly pale, my stomach churning violently, almost making me vomit. Nash Song stood at the door, arms crossed, looking impatient. "What now? What kind of sympathy act is this?" I raised my head and stared at him coldly. "An act? Nash Song. Do you really think I'd stoop to such games? Let me tell you, the baby was lost while you were busy sending another woman home." He froze for a moment, then scoffed, "Stop joking. Just because I refuse to give you a ride, you start making up stories. A child? Where did you get a child from? if you were really pregnant, you should be more considerate of Lacey Jew. She's a pregnant woman with limited mobility. Why are you picking fights with her?" His tone was icy, devoid of any concern, filled only with endless accusations. I couldn't hold back any longer. Tears streamed down my face. In his mind, is this the kind of person I am? Someone who would fabricate lies and even use a child to gain sympathy, all just to compete for favor. Just now, Lacey even said she upset you and wanted to come apologize specially. Others are so understanding, yet you're the one making unreasonable demands. I kept a sullen face and remained silent. Suddenly, the ringing of my phone interrupted my thoughts. The phone screen flashed with the name Lacey Jew, and I could almost picture her hypocritical expression at that very moment. Nash Song pressed the answer button, but before he could speak, her sickly sweet voice came through. "Nash, is Sister Mara okay?" I heard. "Sister Mara is really angry. Don't take it to heart, she's just too impatient. She definitely still loves you." Even through the phone, I could smell the stench of her manipulative words. "Don't defend her. I've spoiled her rotten, throwing a tantrum over something so trivial." Nash Song's voice was dripping with tenderness. "Don't worry about this. Go to sleep. You're carrying a child, after all." He gently hung up the phone, turned to look at me, his eyes filled with impatience again. "I'll sleep in the study tonight. You should reflect on yourself." I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and slowly opened them. "Nash Song," I said calmly, "let's get a divorce." He froze, seemingly caught off guard by my words, then let out a mocking laugh. "Divorce? What are you making a fuss about now? My patience has its limits. Is this really necessary? It doesn't matter anymore. Let's divorce." My tone was steady, but each word felt like a nail, driving straight into his heart. I finally only told my best friend Lin Wei about the miscarriage. I called Lin Wei, and her voice was filled with heartache and anger. "Mara, you're just foolish. Back then, for his future, you voluntarily gave up the promotion opportunity and left the company. Now, just because he got a promotion, he's acting all high and mighty and flirting with subordinates." I closed my eyes, listening to my best friend's concerned scolding, finally feeling a bit of comfort. Yes, I was truly foolish. Not only did I give up a great promotion opportunity, but I even handed over the dowry my parents gave me to support his career, and now, this is how he treats me. "Mara, don't worry, I'll keep an eye on them at the company. If I find anything, I won't let that bastard get away with it." I responded softly and hung up the phone. The snow today has covered the entire city. It's so cold. I took a week off, planning to rest properly. I opened the door, and a chill rushed in. The house was empty. Nash Song had left early, without even coming to see me. In the past, whenever we argued, no matter who was right or wrong, he would always leave a fridge magnet with a playful apology or a warm, comforting message. But this time, the fridge was bare. There was nothing at all. Although it was just a miscarriage in the early months, the doctor said I still couldn't take it lightly. If I didn't recover properly, it could lead to chronic health issues later. Suppressing the bitterness in my heart, I mechanically stood in line, registered, and waited. Suddenly, a familiar conversation reached my ears. It was the joyful chatter of expectant parents. "Nash, this outfit is so adorable. Should we buy it for our little one?" "Whatever you say, Nash. The doctor said the baby is growing quite big. I think it might be a boy. If only it looks like you." "Hey, boy or girl, it's all good. My parents said they'll come take care of you after you give birth." The woman's voice laughed happily, following the familiar male voice. I looked up in disbelief and indeed saw Nash Song. What did he mean by his parents said they would come take care of her once Lacey Jew gives birth? Could it be that the child in Lacey Jew's belly is actually Nash Song's? I felt as if struck by lightning. While Nash Song gently held that woman in his arms, his face full of adoration, he also saw me, the smile on his face instantly freezing, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes. "What are you doing here? Are you really pregnant?" he asked stiffly. I clenched the test report tightly in my hand, my nails digging deep into my flesh, but the pain was nothing compared to the agony in my heart. "Does it matter?" I retorted coldly, turning my head to see Lacey Jew. "Congratulations. By the way, you're about to become a mother." "Thank you, Sister Mara. I wasn't feeling well today. So I asked Nash to bring me here for a checkup. Please don't misunderstand. I let out a cold laugh but remained silent. Misunderstand? What would I need to misunderstand? Perhaps my gaze was too icy. Because Nash Song also sensed that something was off. He frowned, his tone tinged with displeasure. Mara. What kind of attitude is this? I thought you had reflected properly. What attitude? I curled my lips into a cold smile, struggling to suppress the raging fury in my heart. Nash Song, do you take me for a fool? You drove her home, and now you're accompanying her to a prenatal checkup. Do you think I'm blind? Lacey Jew seemed frightened by me, shrinking back and hiding behind Nash Song as she said weakly, Nash, Mara is so fierce, she might scare the baby. Don't be afraid, Lacey. I'll talk to her properly. He comforted Lacey Jew gently, but when he turned to look at me, his eyes were filled with disgust. Enough already. Are you stalking me? What do you want to know? Whether the child is mine? His tone was icy. So what if it's mine? Before, I still felt some guilt towards you. But seeing how jealous you are, I know I made the right choice. So this child really is Nash Song's. This scumbag. With Nash Song's favor, Lacey Jew immediately changed her attitude, arrogantly stroking her pregnant belly and boasting, Nash not only picks me up and drops me off, but also accompanies me for walks, brings me afternoon tea, and won't even let me take the bus or subway. He says only women without any ability would squeeze onto public transport. If we're talking about the skill of being shameless, I must admit, I'm no match for you. I scoffed. What, does she think Nash Song is some kind of treasure? You, Lacey Jew was left speechless, but I continued to taunt her word by word. What about me? Lacey Jew, don't tell me you think being a homewrecker is something to be proud of. TSK, still better than a useless hag with no skills. She rolled her eyes as we exchanged insults. Ha, if you want this man, I'll let you have him. I sneered, no longer caring. But as for my money, don't even dream of getting a single cent. Turning to Nash Song, I snapped. The car is mine, hand over the keys now. Still dreaming of a beauty to match your fancy car. Keep dreaming. Faced with his betrayal, I was surprisingly calm. No more tears, no more outbursts. Consider it as feeding your sincerity to a dog. From now on, take back what you rightfully deserve. I snatched the keys back in one swift motion, leaving the two stunned. Nash Song probably never expected me to be so fierce and stood there dumbfounded. The first thing I did when I got home was throw out all of Nash Song's belongings, his clothes, shoes, ties, gaming console, even his most treasured limited edition sneakers. I swept them all into trash bags. I was like a person possessed, frantically erasing every trace related to him. This house was bought before marriage under my name. Nash Song didn't contribute a single penny. So what right does he have to strut around here with Lacey Jew? After exhausting myself for most of the night, I collapsed onto the sofa. Only then did I realize how suffocating my life had been during these 3 years of marriage. Like a fool, I was played for a fool by him and Lacey Jew. Originally, we were both working on projects at the company, and I had always been the top performer. It was him who said the work pressure was too much and that after marriage, he wanted me to rest properly. Letting him shoulder the burden of work, I took his words to heart. After marriage, I gave up my promotion opportunities, handed over all my resources to him, and took up a clerical job at a small company. The pay was low, but with regular hours from 9 to 5, it was stable and secure. I had much more time to spend with him, with his parents, and to keep the household in perfect order. Now that his life has improved, he's making more money and has been promoted. Those little thoughts of his can no longer be hidden. The phone rang. It was Nash Song calling. I hung up directly and then blocked him. Immediately after, he called again from a different number. I answered irritably. What the hell do you want? Mara Jew, are you out of your mind? You threw all my things away. Do you know how expensive those were? His voice was filled with anger. Ha, Nash Song, so you know what expensive means. Then what did you take my youth and my feelings for? Bargain bin trash, I sneered. Stop being unreasonable. Lacey is pregnant now and emotionally unstable. I can't let her get upset. So what? You want me to suffer so you can pamper your mistress and illegitimate child? I was practically laughing from sheer disbelief. Mara Jew, don't go too far. Who do you think you are? If it weren't for me, Who would even look at you?" Before he could finish, I cut him off. "Nash Song, listen up. From today on, there's nothing between us anymore. Go be with whoever you want, just don't bother me again. And this house is mine. It has nothing to do with you. Don't come back." With that, I hung up the phone fiercely and blocked him too, turning off my phone. The world was finally quiet. I stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Gazing at the brightly lit city outside, now completely blanketed in snow, I took a deep breath. Divorce. Perhaps it was the most correct decision I had made in the past 3 years. Early the next morning, I went to the law firm to consult about the divorce proceedings. The lawyer said that both the car and the house were purchased before marriage, considered premarital assets, and would remain mine after the divorce. The other parts just need to be discussed with my husband. What's there to discuss? Everything belongs to me. He leaves with nothing. I grabbed my phone and scrolled to Lin Wei's number. My best friend is the intelligence hub at the company. If she wants to know something, there's nothing she can't find out. "Vivi, I'm at the hospital. I ran into Nash Song and Lacey Jew, and they confronted me. What a pair of scumbags. Just wait. I'm going to chop him up. Vivi, don't act rashly. I need you to do me a favor." I paused, then continued. "Gather all the dirt on them at the company. I have a tough battle ahead. I'll make sure they're utterly disgraced." I sneered coldly, a flash of ruthlessness passing through my eyes. Lin Wei worked quickly, and it didn't take long before she sent over the photos and videos. Suppressing my disgust, I reviewed all the evidence. Did they think they could do whatever they wanted just because it wasn't happening right under my nose? Turns out, the affair between Nash Song and Lacey Jew had long been an open secret in the company. Hugging and flirting are child's play. What's worse is they even carry on in the company break room, meeting rooms, and even the office. They often take advantage of business trips to go off together. The whole department knows, but because of their positions, everyone keeps it from me. These two are utterly shameless. Lin Wei's tone dripped with scorn. "I always said Nash Song isn't that capable. Many of the projects he used for his promotion were actually ones you worked on before. He just took credit for your achievements and claimed them as his own." My hand gripping the wine glass suddenly tightened, nails digging deep into my palm. "And that bitch Lacey Jew, relying on Nash Song's favor, acts like she owns the company. Anyone who crosses her ends up getting sidelined by Nash Song. So many people have been pushed out because of her." Listening to Lin Wei's revelations, I felt like a complete fool. All my hard work had ultimately become stepping stones for their climb up the ladder. I sneered. "Truly, one who sows the wind shall reap the whirlwind, since they have no sense of shame. Don't blame me for being ruthless." I compiled all the evidence into a PowerPoint and had Lin Wei send it to the company's main group chat, stirring up a storm with a single stone. The group chat exploded instantly, and it wasn't long before Nash Song and Lacey Jew were called in for a talk. Lin Wei also called, her voice brimming with excitement. "Mara, your PPT is amazing. The whole company is talking about it now. Nash Song and Lacey Jew's reputations are completely ruined. I bet they'll be packing their bags and leaving tomorrow." As expected, Nash Song and Lacey Jew were fired by the company. But this wasn't enough, far from enough. I opened my computer and drafted a new email. In the recipient field, I entered the email addresses of all the clients who had worked with Nash Song, as well as those of senior executives in the industry. In the attachment are those disgusting videos and photos that Lin Wei sent me. In no time, Nash Song's scandal was everywhere, becoming a disgrace in the industry. I guess no other company in the field would be willing to hire him now, would they? Lin Wei called me with the good news. "Mara, the entire industry has issued a ban. They absolutely refuse to take in these two scumbags. Moreover, Nash Song has nowhere to go now and can only hole up in Lacey Jew's rented apartment. These days, Lacey Jew is like an angry old hen, constantly fuming over this useless man. I also find it somewhat amusing. Didn't Lacey Jew think Nash Song was some kind of treasure? Now that she's got him, why isn't she cherishing him anymore?" After being fired, Nash Song barged into my house like a mad dog, shamelessly refusing to divorce. "Why should we divorce? This house is half mine," he shouted, eyes bloodshot, reeking of alcohol, spittle flying onto my face. I wiped my face in disgust and sneered. Nash Song, you were caught red-handed cheating during our marriage, and you still have the nerve to ask for the house. Keep dreaming. Hearing this, he became even more aggressive, spewing vulgar insults. You bitch. You made Lacey Jew threaten to abort the baby. If anything happens to my child, I'll make you pay. I couldn't be bothered to engage with him and simply locked the door behind me. The next morning, as I left for work, I found the door vandalized with bright red paint. Scrawled with words like barren hen and husband killer, the pungent smell of the paint made me nauseous. No need to think, it must be the doing of that Nash Song and his family. Sure enough, Nash Song's parents stood like two guardian deities blocking my doorstep. I quickly tightened my coat, yet still felt a bone-chilling cold. You're such a cruel woman. On such a cold day, you actually made my son homeless. His mother was the first to attack. Of course your son is sleeping in his cozy nest. I suppressed my anger, my tone laced with sarcasm. How could I forget him saying that once Lacey Jew gives birth, you'd be eagerly rushing to take care of her during her confinement. So how is it that now you're suddenly homeless? At these words, her face darkened even more. Pointing a finger at me, she screeched. So what if that's the case? You jinx. 3 years of marriage and not even a hint of a baby in your belly, yet you have the nerve to hog my son's house. Our Song family lineage must not end. The child in Xiaoju's belly is a boy, precious beyond measure. A woman like you deserves to be drowned in a pig cage. Flecks of spit flew from her mouth as her shrill voice rose. Disgusted, I took a step back. His father chimed in as well. Exactly. How did your parents raise you? You have no manners at all. My son has been so good to you, providing you with good food and drink, and this is how you treat him. Do you even have a conscience? Hurry up and transfer the property to my son. Consider it some compensation for our old Song family. Looking at their ugly faces, I felt a wave of nausea churn in my stomach. It was utterly revolting. This wasn't about seeking an explanation. It was outright extortion. I pulled out my phone and called the police directly. Hello, 110. There are people here maliciously vandalizing my walls, blocking my door, and threatening me. The police arrived quickly and took the elderly Song couple away. Watching them being shoved into the police car, I felt a surge of satisfaction. That evening, I received a call from the police station asking me to come over. When I arrived, I saw Nash Song's parents sitting stiffly, their faces filled with defiance but unable to hide the panic in their eyes. I said firmly to the police, I want to press charges against them for trespassing and malicious vandalism. I refuse any private settlement. You wretched woman, Nash Song's mother pointed at me, her lips trembling. I glared at them coldly. There's a high-definition camera right at my door, capturing every angle clearly. Your criminal evidence is undeniable, and now you dare to spew nonsense in the police station. I'll sue you for defamation too. Mother Song slumped in her chair, her face alternating between green and pale. I snorted disdainfully. The sin was committed by your son, not me. If he hadn't cheated first, I'd still be respectfully calling you mom and dad. Showering you with gifts during holidays, these cotton-padded jackets you're wearing. I went to 3 different malls last winter just to pick them out for you, and they cost over 3,000 yuan. For the past 3 years, I've given you my heart and soul, and what do I get in return? A morning of paint threats and curses. Why should I swallow this anger? As I spoke, my eyes grew slightly moist, but I held back the tears, refusing to let them fall. The police, following my instructions, began taking notes and once again warned the Song parents to mind their words. At that moment, Nash Song also arrived at the police station. The moment he entered, he fell to his knees with a thud before me, his face twisted in sorrow as he pleaded, Mara, I'm begging you, please let my parents go. I know I was wrong. I want a divorce. I'll do it right now. I'll agree to whatever terms you say. I won't make a scene anymore. As he spoke, he began slapping himself hard across the face, each blow louder than the last, as if trying to express his remorse through this physical punishment. Watching him in this state, I felt not a single ripple of emotion, only endless disgust. To ensure a smooth divorce process, I ultimately chose to forgive his parents. I quickly called my lawyer to draft the divorce agreement immediately and had Nash Song sign it. After dealing with all this mess, I was completely exhausted, both physically and mentally. I threw myself onto the sofa, picked up my phone, and scrolled through the photos of Nash Song and me from before. The sweet memories from the past now seemed so ironic and ridiculous. How could I have been so blind to fall in love with such a scumbag? I deleted all the photos and videos related to him, completely erasing him from my life. The moment I held the divorce certificate in my hand, I felt all the strength drain from my body. 3 years of marriage shattered in an instant. To say I felt nothing would be a lie. But I knew all too well that a long agony is worse than a short one. Dragging it out would only bring more pain. In a way, I even felt relieved. Thankfully, that child chose not to come into this world. That night, Lin Wei and I drank ourselves into oblivion. She patted me on the shoulder while slurring her words. Men, they're all the same. Don't take them too seriously. ***. Sis will have your back from now on. I laughed and pushed her away. But a warm feeling surged in my heart. When I called my parents back home to talk about the divorce, I expected them to scold me. But instead, they overwhelmingly supported me. Mara, we never thought that guy was right for you, but you were so head over heels that we couldn't stop you. Dad, Mom, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so willful. Hearing my parents' voices, my nose tingled, and I couldn't hold back my tears. It's okay, sweetheart, it's good that you left. Live well from now on. And we'll always support you. With the support of my parents and close friends, I felt as if I had divine assistance. I went home and had a prosperous new year, fully recharging my energy. When spring came and the snow melted, I returned to the city. I quit my 9-to-5 office job and found a challenging new role in live streaming operations. 3 years of marriage had drained all my passion and ambition. Now was the time to reclaim them. The work was exhausting, yet deeply fulfilling. Before long, I carved out my own success through sheer capability. Business negotiations came one after another, and the streamers under my management were all making a fortune. With work temporarily settled, I finally had a chance to catch my breath. I arranged to meet Lin Wei, and we found a quiet cafe, ordered 2 cappuccinos, and started catching up. How have you been lately? Is work going well? Lin Wei asked with concern. Not bad, quite fulfilling, I replied with a smile. Taking a sip of my coffee, that's good. Lin Wei also smiled, then leaned in mysteriously and lowered her voice to ask, that bastard, do you want to know how he's doing now? I looked at my best friend curiously. Wanting to know about him now is just the result of lingering resentment. Lin Wei observed my expression and sighed in relief. Let me tell you, that guy is having a really rough time now. He couldn't make it in the city, lost all his reputation, and had to slink back to his hometown to live off his parents. Lin Wei vividly described. Guess what? Lacey Ju actually followed him back. Lacey Ju, is she out of her mind? Exactly. I heard the Song family parents initially treated Lacey Ju like royalty, but not long after she gave birth, things changed. They started bossing her around endlessly. Laundry, cooking, feeding pigs, she had to do it all. Lin Wei's tone carried a hint of mockery, but that's not even the worst part. Lin Wei lowered her voice mysteriously. Rumor has it their child, because of the Song parents' superstitions, missed proper treatment and ended up brain damaged from a fever. I nearly spat out my coffee, feeling a pang of pity, and asked, how could this happen? What kind of superstition? Just the same old rural nonsense. When the child had a fever, they refused to go to the hospital and insisted on performing exorcisms at home, and then, Lin Wei shrugged with a you-know-how-it-goes expression. I sighed deeply. Honestly, the child was the most innocent one. Who would have thought their life would begin with such a catastrophic start? What about Nash Song? He couldn't have just stood by and watched, could he? I asked Lin Wei. Him, what can he even do? He ran back to the city drowning in debt, penniless, and when his child got into trouble, all he could do was haul bricks at a construction site. Lin Wei's tone was dripping with disdain. And guess what? This young master broke his leg within 3 days of working there. I covered my mouth, feigning surprise. That unlucky? Exactly, Lin Wei vividly recounted. Now the whole family is relying solely on Lacey Ju to keep things afloat. She used to be so haughty, but now she has to grovel before the 2 elderly Song family members. take care of a child with special needs, and look after a crippled husband. TSK, how the tables have turned. In Lin Wei's description, Lacey Ju had become a disheveled old woman, and Nash Song had truly turned into a useless wreck. My eyes turned cold as I recalled that humiliating marriage. Thankfully, I cut my losses in time. All of this was destined by fate, otherwise, the ones suffering would have been me and my child. They say only the wicked can torment the wicked. Let that wretched family drown in their misery. As for me, it's time to embrace my perfect life. Here is the second article. At the engagement party, my fiancé was called away by a single phone call from his mistress. Afterwards, she taunted me, saying, "We are the true love." Ezra Zheng would stop a plane to chase her, abandon a business alliance marriage, and even spend 500 million just to catch a glimpse of her in the hands of kidnappers. What am I, compared to that? I smiled faintly without speaking. Oh, the pitiful creature who thinks she's loved. How I look forward to the expression on her face when her dreams shatter. Mr. Zheng is missing. The waiter frantically reported to me. I casually smoothed my hair and admired the $100 million look in the full-length mirror, thoroughly pleased. If it's gone, it's gone. Inform the guests to move to the grand hall upstairs. Let's have an extraordinary and magnificent ball. How could my billion-dollar styling just go to waste like that? The engagement banquet abruptly transformed into a high society ball, even if it was untimely. Who among the present would dare to speak out of turn in front of me? With a graceful smile, I personally hosted the ball, observing the confusion on everyone's faces but offering no further explanation. As expected, no one dared to comment, and everyone calmly went through the entire process as if they had long known it was just an ordinary high society ball. The banquet ended with all guests and hosts in high spirits. Since Ezra Zheng dared to disappear during the engagement party, it was only natural for me to demand an explanation. The elders of both families were very satisfied with my ability to handle the situation on the spot, but at the same time, the anger towards Ezra Zheng's antics grew even more intense. Absurd. How old are you? Can't you even distinguish the seriousness of the occasion? Is this matter of sky-falling importance something you must personally attend to? Leaving Lena behind, Madame Zheng struck her cane forcefully, scolding Ezra Zheng with a face full of fury. The elder Mr. Zheng passed away early, and in those days, the Zheng family was surrounded by wolves and tigers. It was this matriarch who wielded thunderous authority to stabilize the Zheng family's position and suppress many ambitious schemes. In high society, there is no one who does not show her a measure of respect. Even though she is now old and her eyes are dim, it doesn't mean she is senile. The marriage between Ezra Zheng and me was orchestrated by this old lady herself. Ezra Zheng lowered his eyes, his posture humble. The dark circles under his eyes and the bloodshot whites made it clear he hadn't slept for nights. His spirit worn and weary, he remained silent, obediently accepting the old lady's reprimands. This was his usual demeanor, in front of elders. He was always the picture of a repentant and well-behaved man. The old lady had been scolding for so long that she grew tired, and with Mrs. Zheng constantly trying to placate her with kind words, she eventually grew annoyed. Turning to me, she put on a warm smile again. "Lena, it's that rascal Ezra Zheng who's wronged you. Feel free to hit or scold him however you like. You two grew up together, and you know how his brain sometimes short-circuits and he does stupid things, but deep down, he's not a bad kid. However you want to handle this, just let him make it up to you." I was admiring my freshly done manicure when suddenly being put on the spot, so I could only respond with a polite smile. "I don't mind much. Ezra often surprises me like this. I'm used to it by now, but my parents are a bit confused, so they specifically dragged me here to ask, does the Zheng family have any issues with me, or with my Pei family?" The final note faded, leaving the room so silent you could hear a pin drop. Who dares to voice any objections against the Pei family? The Pei family may be the new tech elite in Haicheng, but they are the last ones you'd want to cross. Founded under the leadership of CEO Pei, the family's influence has expanded more than tenfold in just over a decade, forcing even the established old money families of Haicheng to step aside. Among Mr. Pei's 3 children, The least promising one is sitting right in front of them. Yet, even this least promising individual, upon entering the jewelry industry a few years ago, quickly rose to become one of the top players in the field. Mrs. Zheng originally favored my eldest sister as the ideal marriage candidate. Unfortunately, my sister didn't take a liking to Ezra Zheng. Although Ezra Zheng is highly capable, he still falls short of being a match for the heir of the Pei family. Settling for second best, "I'm the perfect candidate, Lena Pei." This was Ezra Zheng's first utterance since arriving today. "Let's talk privately if there's anything." He gave me a covert glance, his eyes shadowed. I raised an eyebrow slightly, thinking this was interesting, and was quite willing to humor him. "Fine, then we'll handle it ourselves, no need to trouble the elders. Speak up, what's the meaning of running away from the engagement banquet, giving me attitude?" I crossed my arms, glaring at him with displeasure. Ezra Zheng pulled out a cigarette, lit it, took 2 deep drags, then threw it to the ground under my disgusted gaze and crushed it with his shoe. "Myra Liu is pregnant," I scoffed lightly. "None of my damn business. That's your mistress, your little fling. I certainly don't have the ability to get her pregnant with my kid. Besides, I remember warning you to cut ties with her cleanly. I don't care who you're with, but I hate trouble. And she doesn't seem like the quiet type. You've always looked down on me," Ezra Zheng blurted out. Straying from the topic, I answered without hesitation, "I don't see anything about you worth my respect." Ezra Zheng chuckled softly. "Then why did you agree to marry me?" "I need a husband in name, and you need a wife in name. As luck would have it, this husband and wife can bring each other tremendous benefits." My answer was so matter-of-fact that it sent Ezra Zheng into fits of laughter like a madman. I was about to go up and kick him when his face suddenly darkened, and he asked, "Then do you believe in love?" I scoffed. "Only fools believe in that nonsense." That day, Ezra Zheng dragged me into a conversation as if he were drunk, rambling on like an idiot, constantly beating around the bush about love or whatever, until my ears were calloused from listening. I had always thought his attitude toward Myra Liu was just for fun, but now perhaps I need to reconsider. In the end, we reached some kind of strange agreement. The marriage would still proceed, but it would be held after Myra Liu gave birth to the child. I continued my daily routine of indulging in food, drink, and entertainment, spending money like water and living an extravagantly luxurious life. When in a good mood, I'd go to the office for a couple of days to fulfill my duties as CEO. Perhaps out of some strange sense of guilt, my parents and siblings kept transferring more and more money into my account, to the point where I could barely keep up with my reckless spending. Day after day, I drowned myself in dreams and intoxication, almost forgetting what era I was living in. Little did I expect trouble to arrive so unexpectedly. The banquet ended, and having been plied with quite a bit of alcohol, my steps were unsteady. Though my mind remained relatively clear, I lazily leaned on a man's shoulder, letting him support me, the young master of the fallen noble family, the Li family. I knew what kind of scheme he was plotting, and I was happy to play along, considering he was at least somewhat decent. Just then, someone blocked my path. I lazily lifted my eyelids, didn't recognize him. The woman's makeup was bright and striking, her figure tall and slender, wearing flat shoes that didn't quite match her evening gown, yet her expression carried a somewhat haughty air. "Miss Pei, I've long heard of your reputation. It's a pleasure to finally meet you today." I didn't recognize her, but I could tell she meant trouble, so I retorted sharply, "I attend banquets like this every day. How come I'm only seeing you today? What? Were you not qualified to attend such events before?" The woman was choked up, unable to retort, because every word I said hit her where it hurt. "I'm Myra Liu," she said, her chin slightly raised, exuding an air of arrogance as if I should naturally know who she was. "Never heard of you. A good dog doesn't block the way. Get lost." Myra Liu's face twisted in anger for a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. "I just came today to advise Miss Pei that a marriage without love is like a pair of glass slippers that don't fit. Glamorous to outsiders but agonizing in reality." I burst out laughing, unable to resist teasing. "Then has anyone told you that a woman without status is called a mistress, and a child without status is called a bastard?" Myra Liu turned pale. My words cut like knives. carving into her heart, Lena Pei, Ezra Zheng and I are the ones truly in love, you're the one standing in the way. Aren't you even a little curious about what Ezra Zheng ran off to do on the day of your engagement? I pick at my ear. Probably off on some shady rendezvous with a despicable bug. His taste has always been terrible, and his preferences rather peculiar. Myra Liu is so furious that veins bulge at her temples, but she doesn't forget her objective, forcing out a triumphant tone. That day, I left the pregnancy test results behind and boarded a flight abroad. Ezra intercepted the plane and came personally to beg me to stay. Suddenly, it all makes sense to me. I was wondering why Ezra Zheng suddenly borrowed money from me for no reason. Turns out he couldn't cover the hush money and compensation after stopping the plane. Acting cool feels great, but don't force it if your wallet can't keep up. I watched her with amusement, debating whether to reveal the truth. I'd love to see Ezra Zheng's image shatter in his mistress's eyes. On second thought, forget it, better not screw over a business partner. It'd make me look untrustworthy. Myra Liu, seeing my prolonged silence, thought she had grasped my weakness. Ezra has told me everything. There's no affection between you two. It's purely a partnership of convenience, I silently agreed. That much was true. If that's the case, Miss Pei, why cling to him so desperately? Everyone should pursue their true love. Ezra has already found his, so why insist on keeping someone who doesn't love you by your side? The tale of having the body but not the heart is far too cliched. I was stunned. You're saying I'm clinging to him desperately? I was almost laughing in anger. That idiot Ezra Zheng is two-faced, bad-mouthing me without hesitation to placate his mistress. Myra Liu sneered at my reaction. Or is it that Ezra can't bear to part with you, Miss Pei? Do you really enjoy meddling in other people's relationships this much? I laughed genuinely. Ezra Zheng's taste in partners is as appalling as his character. Utterly incapable of telling who's truly in charge. Allow me to kindly remind the forgetful Miss Homewrecker. My engagement with Ezra Zheng is common knowledge among the entire high society of Haicheng. The cancellation of the engagement party doesn't mean the engagement is off. I hope the other party has some self-awareness about who the real third wheel is. Myra Liu was incredulous, shrieking sharply, "You still plan to marry Ezra, Lena Pei? How shameless can you be?" I raised an eyebrow slightly. Open marriage? Clearly, you wouldn't understand that, you bumpkin. Myra Liu was so furious her chest heaved uncontrollably. Her purpose in deliberately blocking me today was to annoy me, making me self-aware enough to give up on Ezra Zheng. But how could she understand? For people like us, marriage is about the family power behind it. As for what kind of garbage the actual marriage partner is, it doesn't matter at all. The understanding between Ezra Zheng and me is that we each do our own thing, neither interfering with the other, and not bringing trouble into the marriage is the bottom line. But it seems Myra Liu just can't grasp this bottom line. Her face turned ashen, her brightly colored red lips trembling slightly as she desperately tried to find her shattered dignity by belittling me. Lena Pei, you were just born lucky. What else do you have to show for yourself? Ezra is the sole heir of the Zheng family. His abilities and looks are outstanding in every way. What makes you worthy of him, besides eating, drinking, and having fun? What other skills do you have? He doesn't love you, and you don't love him either. There's no love between you. And you're not even a good match. How can you still have the nerve to marry him? This level of damage was too low to stir even the slightest ripple in me. Before I could open my mouth to deliver the final blow, Li Juo couldn't hold back and snapped first. "She's not good enough for Ezra Zheng, and you think you're qualified? If I remember correctly, you're just an internet celebrity who got famous from a dance show, constantly marketing your daily life with a mysterious wealthy boyfriend. Does Ezra Zheng even know you're using him to attract attention and make money?" I was shocked. "How do you know all this?" Li Juo scoffed. "She signed under my friend's agency. She tried to seduce my buddy before but failed. Who knows how she ended up with Ezra Zheng?" Myra Liu didn't expect Li Juo to suddenly intervene and expose all her secrets. Instantly flushing red with anger, she stumbled back 2 steps in panic, her footing unsteady, nearly losing her balance. The next moment, she hunched over, clutching her abdomen with a pained and slightly contorted expression, moaning, My stomach hurts so bad, the baby." My baby, I was utterly impressed by this masterful display of acting. I could already guess how this script was going to play out. Sure enough, the next second, Ezra Zheng's furious voice rang out. Lena Pei, what are you doing? Ezra Zheng's heroic rescue was impeccably timed, his tall frame providing strong support for the teetering Myra Liu. With a tense expression, he asked carefully, Myra, are you okay? Myra Liu's eyes brimmed with tears as she looked up at him pitifully. Ezra, my stomach hurts so much tilde. That drawn-out, melodramatic tone sent shivers down my spine. I'll take you to the hospital. Ezra Zheng, oozing with boyfriend energy, scooped her up in a grand princess carry. Before leaving, he even made sure to throw a threatening remark my way. Lena Pei, you breached the contract first. If anything happens to Myra, I'll hold you accountable. Screw your damn contract. Li Duo rolled his eyes dramatically. Did they just get discharged from the hospital? I couldn't agree more. In low spirits, under Li Duo's disappointed gaze, I waved and said goodbye to him, returning home, unexpectedly, in the middle of the night. The whole family was neatly gathered, waiting for me. What's the occasion? I must be really important today, I joked playfully, reaching out to take the hot soup handed to me by the nanny. My eldest sister barely lifted her eyelids, her tone full of authority as she spoke. Where have you been fooling around again? In front of my family, I'm just a carefree and unrestrained rogue, always joking around and never serious. Where else could I go? None of you were willing to grace Shu Tai's birthday party with your presence, so I went as the family representative to show my face. The Shu family still deserves your personal attention, my eldest sister scoffed. More likely, you were chasing after Ezra Zheng. I shrugged helplessly. I honestly didn't know he'd be there. My mother is a gentle beauty, her slender brows slightly furrowed as she softly asked, Lena, tell me honestly, what are your true feelings about Ezra Zheng? No feelings, just a regular fiancé. But he's already had a child with another woman. Mother's voice was full of hesitation. They sure are well informed. I scratch my head. Well, I'm used to it. The Pei family's bunch of hopeless romantics just can't comprehend my views on marriage and relationships. I think it's necessary to be more blunt. Dad, Mom, I really don't mind. I'll never have children for Ezra Zheng. Oh wait, I never planned to have any in this lifetime. But if Ezra Zheng wants an heir, why not let him choose someone he actually likes? Saves trouble and hassle. I know my ideas are hard for the public to accept, but there's no helping it. I just love doing things this way. I don't love Ezra Zheng, and he doesn't love me, but coincidentally, our marriage would bring enormous benefits, and these benefits happen to be exactly what we both crave. Seen this way, we're a match made in heaven. Mom sighs in frustration. Her thinking is, if I'm not so madly in love with Ezra Zheng that I've lost my senses, why won't I just call off the engagement? You've grown up. And it's good to have your own thoughts. Dad finally spoke, his voice steady and firm. But I hope you can distinguish what is more important in your heart. I nodded obediently. I know my limits. What's important, I don't know, but it certainly can't be love and marriage. After much persuasion, I finally managed to convince them to go back to their room and rest. I drank the hangover soup and sat in the living room for a while. After going through the pile of unread messages, I finally decided to go back to my room to sleep. I walked quietly down the hallway, heading toward the room at the far end of the third floor. Unexpectedly, as I passed by one of the rooms, I heard a faint creaking sound. I turned my head and saw my eldest sister standing there in a bathrobe, staring at me with an inscrutable gaze. I blinked my eyes and obediently called out, Sis, aren't you going to sleep yet? Elder sister silently stared at me for a long time, staring so intently that my scalp tingled. My mind raced through all the foolish things I'd done in the past month like a storm. Nothing too outrageous, though. Where had I offended this great demon lord again? I was puzzled but didn't dare speak up, fearless against all else since childhood. I always turned into a coward whenever facing elder sister, Lena Pei. The elder sister's voice was slightly hoarse, her tone very solemn. I immediately straightened up, standing tall. Go ahead, I said. I don't believe I'm so useless that my younger sister needs to enter a political marriage to uphold the Pei family. I don't need any of you to make sacrifices for me or for the Pei family. That would only prove my incompetence. I let out a sigh of relief. What a trivial matter, I said cheerfully. To me, this isn't a sacrifice. I know you can't understand. But in my eyes, marriage itself is an exchangeable value. I'm trading something I consider worthless for an immeasurable future. That has nothing to do with sacrifice. My eldest sister frowned deeply. Do you really not love Ezra Jing? I tilted my head and smirked mischievously. Rather than loving him, I'd say I love the identity of the Jing heir. My fiancé is called the Jing heir, and in the future, my husband should be the one who holds power in the Jing family. Why? The eldest sister gradually calmed down, but she was still puzzled. I met her gaze without flinching. Sis, my marriage, just like your freedom, is only worthy of being a stepping stone to success. The eldest sister and I locked eyes for a long time before she finally sighed in defeat. Between sisters, I don't want to say thank you. She patted my shoulder. Wishing you success. I curled the corner of my lips. Wish me success. My career must also flourish. Marrying into the Jung family will help the Pei family take a big leap forward. Which was originally my goal. Compared to this, everything else seems insignificant. But it seems that some people can't stand to see me succeed easily. I gazed coldly at the trending search term marked with the word hot, Huachi's 3 heiresses' private lives, multiple men and 1 woman. I let out a cold laugh and clicked in, only to find a collection of speculative photos. The so-called multiple men and 1 woman were merely photos of me entering and exiting various high-end venues with different toys, including Li Duo from that day. The camera angles are all deliberately suggestive, making it look like either passionate kissing or flirting, and the phrase, multiple men with 1 woman is clearly ambiguous. My expression turned cold as I scrolled through the comments section. Money sure is great. Men are like clothes, changed at will. Am I here to see this multiple men with 1 woman? Don't the insiders know what we want to see? Give us something more explosive or we'll demand this trend be taken down. The chairman of Huachi had always built up the image of a devoted husband, and the young CEO Pei also marketed himself as the strict husband in charge. Who would have thought the family's black sheep would turn out to be here, laughing so hard? I just remembered that trending topic from before. Romantics are born in wealthy families. The second son of Huachi also had a mistress he was obsessed with, and some people dragged the entire Pei family into it. Now the third daughter is slapping back hard with receipts. This private life is next-level chaotic. Look at the timestamps in the bottom left corner. The shortest interval is just 5 hours. The use and discard approach is way too obvious, gotta say. The third princess has quite diverse tastes. Each of them is uniquely handsome in their own way. I heard Hua Qi is engaged to the young master of the Jing family. Does this count as blatant cheating? Upstairs, spill the tea. What engagement? Which Jing family's young master? Tell us now. I pressed my fingers against my forehead and rubbed hard. Though it was just ordinary gossip, the public sentiment wasn't favorable. I quickly called my elder sister to discuss removing the trending topic, ensuring Hua Qi's stock market performance and reputation wouldn't be affected by this matter. The phone had barely been hung up when a new message popped in through the top window. I clicked it open, my eyes dark as I read every word. Bang! The phone shattered into pieces. I pressed my finger against the center of my forehead, lowering my voice with a cold laugh. Myra Liu truly has no regard for her own life. And as for those backing her, I refuse to believe that without someone fanning the flames, a minor internet celebrity like her could have the audacity to push me onto the trending list. None of these people will escape unscathed. Crash, glass shattered, thick liquor spreading across the floor. I looked down coldly at Ezra Jing. Have I been too lenient with you lately, daring to scheme against me? Ezra Zheng's face was haggard. He clutched his hair uncontrollably, ignoring the bleeding wound on his forehead as the blood trickled down. It wasn't me, he rasped. It was that bastard. My father acknowledged him and brought him home. Oh, I sneered. Ezra Zheng, have you really become so useless that you can't even deal with a bastard now? I had never met the Zheng family's bastard before. But Ezra Zheng and I were engaged. It was clear the bastard was targeting Ezra, and I was just collateral damage. Ezra Zheng remained silent. The Zheng family had been in turmoil recently, and Myra Liu had been causing repeated scenes. Neither his career nor his personal life was going smoothly. My father dotes on him and has given him plenty of resources and connections, which has inflated his ambitions. He's doing this to sabotage our arranged marriage and clip my wings. Or rather, he wants to take my place. Ezra Zheng finally spoke, his gaze cold and steady as he met my eyes. What does that have to do with me, Ezra Zheng? You need to understand, I, Lena Pei, am not marrying you, but the heir of the Zheng family. In other words, the engagement will proceed as scheduled. Before that, whoever has the capability to secure the heir's position will be my groom, and afterward, Hua Qi will naturally step in to help him sweep away all obstacles. I coldly revealed the truth, seeing no surprise in Ezra Zheng's eyes. From the very beginning, we both understood that this marriage was purely an exchange of interests, devoid of any genuine affection. Before leaving, I glanced back at Ezra Zheng one last time. In the dim corner of the sofa, his jaw was clenched, and crimson blood dripped down the side of his face, adding a touch of ferocity. I offered a piece of well-intentioned advice. Ezra Zheng, don't tell me you've held onto your position as the Zheng family heir for the past 27 years simply because your father didn't have a second child. If you're soft-hearted, just quit this game. I promise I won't laugh at you. I'm not sure how much truth there is in Ezra Zheng's words. But my goal has already been achieved. No matter who the hidden instigator is, as long as his last name is Zheng, it's not convenient for me to personally step in and teach him a lesson. Let them fight among themselves, battling it out to the death. It saves me the effort. And I can even secretly stir the pot without worrying about earning anyone's resentment. A faint smile curled at the corners of my lips as I finalized my plans in my mind. No one understood the weight of those words better than I did. After today, the battle between Ezra Zheng and his illegitimate brother would officially begin, maximizing gains. That was where my true expertise lay, to let my fiancé focus on the internal power struggle and settle the score. I'll take care of that little flea Myra Liu myself. I've always been a considerate fiancé. Ezra Zheng has been protecting Myra Liu quite well. It took me quite some effort to get first-hand information about her. Tianzi Bay, every inch of land is worth its weight in gold. Ezra Zheng is truly generous with his spending. I casually flipped through the materials and let out a disdainful scoff. Chen Ju sat on the sofa with his legs crossed, an unlit cigarette dangling from his lips as he spoke indistinctly. How did this little internet celebrity manage to offend you? Is it really worth the effort to personally go after her? With just a glance from you, Miss Pei. Plenty would be willing to go through fire and water just to amuse you. Bored out of my mind, and incidentally checking out Ezra Zheng's taste, I don't want to end up in a marriage alliance with someone who's short-sighted. Chen Ju chuckled. The first part is the real truth, isn't it? Didn't you take over the semiconductor chip chain from your sister at Hua Qi? That thing is now one of Hua Qi's major projects. Your sister trusted you enough to hand it over completely. And here you are claiming you're just bored. I picked up a pen and threw it. Who asked you to teach me how to do things? It's rare to find some fun to lift my spirits, and now I have to be lectured, ruining my mood. Chen Ju chuckled and raised his hands in surrender. All right, my bad, I'll make it up to you. Whatever the young mistress commands, this servant is at your disposal. The corners of my lips curled up as I spoke with ill intent. Myra Liu cares so much about her image. Doesn't she, the goddess of classical dance, the refined lady from an intellectual family, the beloved darling of her mysterious wealthy boyfriend? These labels are so glamorous. I'd love to give her a unique surprise. Chen Ju shuddered violently and clicked his tongue. The way you're smiling right now is downright chilling. The hot search is trending again. The inside story of the wealthy family's dance troupe, the rise of the dancers. Clicking into the homepage reveals a high-definition video. Several women with stunning figures and extraordinary beauty are dancing with enchanting grace on stage, smiling radiantly. While not overly revealing, their performance is undeniably alluring and captivating. The camera shifts slightly. The image somewhat blurry, but sharp-eyed viewers can still make out a few audience members in the video. It didn't take long for people to match the faces, only to realize they were all familiar tycoons from the rich list. OMG, This is explosive. Is this the extravagant life of the wealthy? I'd be willing to live like this for just one day. Luxury cars, mansions, I'd take it all. How bold. Who leaked this to the trending list? Our CEO Wang is furious. Why hasn't the platform taken it down yet? You linked the wrong post. Do you want to taste CEO Wang's special fried squid? I just skimmed through a certain list and recognized several faces. Oh my God, who dares to expose these people? Where's your focus? I'm the only one curious about that dancer's rise to fame. Right, who's this even about? I know, I just read a 20-page PDF. Here's the summary. A certain dancer caught the eye of a wealthy heir, who personally asked for her from someone else, then kept her as a mistress. Here's the kicker. Rumor has it, it's some shady, under-the-table relationship. Upstairs, I think I know who it is. Took a few bites of the gossip. Is it that Liu surname internet celebrity? Oh, I know her. Isn't her video location tagged as Tianzi Bay? The comments are all like respected Tianzi Bay homeowner, and isn't she in a great relationship with her wealthy boyfriend? He even speaks in her live streams sometimes. Stop kidding yourself. Isn't the video clear enough? A quick glance at the face is all it takes to tell who's who. If she were really a Tianzi Bay homeowner, would she be here performing seductive dances for others? With one hand, I tapped the desk with curved fingers while scrolling through the comments with the other. Manipulating public opinion is child's play. Just drop a few comments with a mix of truth and lies, and the internet will fill in the rest effortlessly. If Myra Liu had obediently stayed as Ezra Zheng's little mistress without coming to irritate me, I wouldn't have minded him keeping her until she died. Unfortunately, she overstepped her bounds. I wouldn't have cared if she just dreamed of climbing the social ladder. I might even have enjoyed amusing myself by toying with her to pass the time. But scheming against me is one thing. Affecting the Pei family because of it is entirely another. Everything about the Pei family, whether it's my parents, siblings, or Hua Qi, is my Lena Pei's inviolable bottom line. Anyone who dares to touch them must be prepared to pay a devastating price. My fingers, which had been tapping on the desk, paused. After a moment's thought, I clicked into the video platform, and sure enough, Myra Liu had started a live stream. That makes sense. The impact was too significant. Even if she wasn't in a hurry, the MCN agency behind her must be anxious by now. Myra Liu had applied light makeup, presenting an ethereal and aloof image. Completely different from the radiant and bold look I had seen that day. She gracefully tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, her voice cool and composed. It's just AI video synthesis. The suggestive comments in the section clearly show someone is out to get me. Today, I'm just making a statement to everyone. This is something I, Myra Liu, would never stoop to do. My family is well off, and my boyfriend and I are a perfect match. Why would I degrade myself? This matter ends here. Don't discuss it in my comment section anymore. As for the mastermind behind this, my boyfriend has decided to send a legal warning. He will pay the price for his actions. Let it be known that spreading rumors isn't cost-free. I couldn't help but laugh. Even now, she's still putting on airs, not showing a hint of urgency. Has she not seen the latest trending topic? Industry experts have already confirmed the video isn't deepfake or synthesized. It's genuine footage. As for Ezra Zheng, he's currently dealing with serious troubles at home and has no energy to care about his little mistress's situation. The illegitimate child of the Zheng family is essentially worthless and can't amount to anything. His meager capabilities are completely insignificant among the wealthy second generation in Haicheng, let alone compared to the heir meticulously groomed by the Zheng family for 27 years. Unfortunately, that illegitimate child is the son of Ezra Zheng's father's first love. With the first love deceased, the only remaining offspring naturally enjoys the favor of Chairman Zheng. With such bias from the chairman, Ezra Zheng clearly struggles in dealing with the illegitimate child. Reading the SOS message sent by someone, I let out a cold laugh. Asking for help but refusing to humble yourself. Clearly, the problem isn't that serious. Might as well solve it yourself. Humming a tune, I turned off the live stream and dutifully got back to work. As for the fate of irrelevant people, who gives a damn? Thanks to the expert analysis from industry veterans, Myra Liu's clarification livestream seemed to have no effect at all. I heard she went to seek help from Ezra Zheng, but didn't even get to see his face. How dire is Ezra Zheng's current situation? Without the support of marriage, he was actually willing to transfer part of his assets to my name to cut his losses. Both laughable and pathetic, he still has cards and chips to turn the tables. Otherwise, he couldn't possibly be unaware that once he loses, I would take the assets he transferred and marry his dear brother Zheng Qiao. I'm actually inclined to believe that he's biding his time. After all, Mr. Zheng has been at the helm of the Zheng family for decades. Even though Ezra Zheng is the acknowledged heir, in the end, it's just a title of successor. However, what I didn't expect was that Myra Liu would actually collaborate with Zheng Qiao. She was invited to participate in another variety show, where she appeared gentle and dignified, displaying extraordinary generosity, with every piece of her casual wear exuding top-tier luxury. For a while, the internet was flooded with whitewashing posts. Has Myra Liu gone crazy? Or is it Ezra Zheng? Or maybe I'm the one who's lost it? How on earth did these two end up together? Are you sure Myra Liu is carrying Ezra Zheng's child and not Ezra Zheng's? Chen Zhu was shouting excitedly in my ear. He couldn't wrap his head around how these two, who were not only unrelated but practically enemies, could end up collaborating. Two idiots, I muttered under my breath. Myra Liu just wants to mess with me and boost her own status to match the title of Mrs. Zheng. As for anything else, her brain probably isn't big enough to handle it. It seems she's certain Ezra Zheng can't do without her, daring to act so outrageously. Chen Zhu shook his head inwardly, thinking Ezra Zheng's downfall lies in the classic trap of a hero succumbing to a beauty. Certain, I think she's bought into Zheng Qiao's nonsense about brothers having no lasting grudges, believing that pleasing Zheng Qiao will make the Zheng family more accepting of her. Chen Zhu was shocked, muttering in disbelief. No way, could someone really be that foolish? I gave him a sidelong glance. Why not? Zheng Qiao is equally idiotic. Thinking that getting close to Myra Liu will help him extract information about Ezra Zheng, he'd be better off trying to win me over. I might even help him secure the title of Zheng family heir. Chen Zhu's lips twitched slightly. Wouldn't Ezra Zheng come fight you to the death? He'd bite you to death if he had to. Am I afraid of him? He's a pig-brained idiot too. Damn it, just thinking about having to deal with a whole family of Zheng pigbrains in the future makes me sick. Rarely did I disregard etiquette and manners to start cursing, but the current chaos of the situation had me so agitated that for a moment I didn't even know which mess to wade into and stir up. Lena Pei, I can't quite figure you out right now. Do you want to mess with Myra Liu, or Ezra Zheng? Or are you helping Ezra Zheng mess with Zheng Qiao? I want to crush them all. My tone was so irritable that it startled Chen Zhu. After a short while, I finally calmed down. Soothing the violent emotions brought on by my intolerance for stupidity, no matter how much Hua Qi and the Zheng family collaborate, they can never truly merge into one. Naturally, I hope the waters in the Zheng family grow murkier by the day. Having regained my composure, I analyzed the situation for Chen Zhu. Marriage means taking a definitive side. I can't very well team up with outsiders against my own husband, but as long as I hold the title of fiancé, no one can tell me what I can or can't do. Chen Zhu's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. Ezra Zheng marrying you is truly like gambling. One wrong move and he could lose everything, but didn't he still beg to marry me? The corner of my lips curled slightly. Do you really think he has a choice? While the two Zheng brothers were busy scheming against each other, it conveniently left Myra Liu free to come and stir up trouble for me. Her belly was only slightly rounded. Yet she deliberately arched her back and stroked it with an exaggerated, affected posture, as if she were about to give birth any moment. Lena Pei, you were the one behind that trending hashtag before, weren't you? She declared confidently. Where's your proof? Making accusations without evidence is slander. Myra Liu snorted coldly. Young Master Zheng already told me everything. Don't even think about denying it. Lena Pei, all that talk about not loving Ezra is just you fooling yourself. But too bad, Ezra loves me and our baby the most. You'll always be an outsider in this lifetime. Twirling a strand of my hair, I blinked at her and said, oh really, what a shame then. You'll never get to see Ezra in his groom's suit at the wedding in this lifetime. Myra Liu's expression twisted for a moment. The engagement between me and Ezra Zheng was the hardest thorn lodged in her heart. Even though Ezra Zheng had made countless promises, it still stuck in her throat like a fishbone. Lena Pei, just you wait. Ezra said he wouldn't let my child be nameless and unrecognized. I can't wait to see the look on your face when the esteemed third daughter of Huaqi becomes a discarded, resentful woman. You actually believe a man's words, it's just a trick to placate you, as a fellow woman. I truly feel pity and sorrow for you. Lena Pei, Ezra, and I share a bond stronger than gold. Don't even think about driving a wedge between us. I smiled faintly without a word, lowering my head to take a sip of tea. Just now, Myra Liu stumbled unsteadily for 2 steps before regaining her balance, and her belly twitched. I was genuinely afraid that a few careless words might provoke her into miscarrying on the spot. If Ezra Zheng lost his heir because of this, would he demand I bear him another? That would be a classic case of cutting off one's nose to spite one's face. I tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear and stepped past her in my high heels, then turned to wave at the salesperson who had been keeping a discreet distance. Wrap up what I just tried on and have it delivered to this address. The salesperson immediately beamed. Of course, Miss Pei, your total today comes to 7,673,000 yuan. Myra Liu was grinding her teeth in frustration. Ezra Zheng only gave her a measly 500,000 a month for pocket money. Yet here she was, watching the person she despised the most casually swipe her card for over 7 million on 2 worthless stones without batting an eye. Her heart burned with both hatred and envy. If she became the young mistress of the Zheng family, would she too be able to swipe her card without hesitation, throwing around millions like Lena Pei? I glanced at the unwilling Myra Liu and disdainfully averted my gaze. Even without me, Lena Pei, the entire Zheng family would have to have their heads trampled by pigs to allow Myra Liu to marry in. The Pei family is considered the most humane among the upper class. Having at least produced a few romantics, I can only be considered an exception. But the Zheng family is entirely bound by interests. None of them have a heart. Expecting the Zheng family to allow a Cinderella to marry in is less realistic than hoping for the god of wealth to rain gold. However, Myra Liu loves to dream, and who can stop her? Kidnapped, and what's more, kidnapped together with Myra Liu. I let out a soft hiss, the back of my head aching. Someone had struck me from behind as soon as I entered the parking lot, completely catching me off guard. I struggled slightly and found myself tightly bound with hemp ropes, unable to break free. Turning my head, I saw the terrified face of Myra Liu. What's going on? How did I end up here? Lena Pei, you bitch, was it you who did this to me? I rolled my eyes dramatically. Come on, lady, I'm tied up too. Use that pea-sized brain of yours to think for once. Will you? Shut up, a hoarse voice, like an old bellows, growled. A burly man with a thick beard and bushy eyebrows suddenly appeared from nowhere, a cigarette dangling from his mouth. He kicked both me and Myra Liu. Damn bitch. Stop yapping. The kidnapper spat and plopped down cross-legged on the ground nearby. Myra Liu, who was pregnant, was kicked and slammed into the wall. Letting out a sharp cry, I frowned and calmly asked, "How much do you want? I may be short on money, but I don't want yours." The kidnapper sneered coldly, his tone vicious. "Just stay put, you bitch. Once Ezra Zheng gets here, I'll decide whether to kill or maim. Do you have a grudge against Ezra Zheng? He's the one who drove me to the edge. I'm going to make him pay. I know the Zheng family isn't short on cash. Threatening him with money wouldn't even faze him." The kidnapper let out a sinister chuckle, sending chills down my spine. For a moment, I couldn't guess what his true motive was. "I have nothing to do with Ezra Zheng. She is Ezra Zheng's woman, his fiancée. The whole of Haicheng knows it. Just take her and let me go." Myra Liu screamed hysterically. The kidnapper grabbed a nearby wrench and slammed it beside her leg, instantly silencing Myra Liu in terror. "Shut the hell up, you noisy bitch. You think I don't know about your dirty little affair with Ezra Zheng? I came for you. Aren't you carrying his bastard? Let's see how much you're worth to him. Whether he'll even bother saving you." I glanced at the sky outside the window, then closed my eyes to block out their shouting, calculating the time in my head. At the same time, I was planning that if the kidnapper wasn't after money, Then they must be after my life. I certainly wouldn't dare to entrust my life to Ezra Zheng's hands. A few hours later, Ezra Zheng appeared on the hillside. Peering through the crack in the door of the cramped storeroom, I cursed under my breath at the sight of his shadow, calling him an idiot. He actually came alone. The kidnapper stood up, dusted himself off, and glanced sideways at Ezra Zheng with a cigarette dangling from his mouth. "You really kept me waiting, you bastard," Ezra Zheng gasped for breath, his voice hoarse as he spoke. "Where are they? How much do you want? What will it take for you to let them go?" The kidnapper remained calm. He nonchalantly pulled out a palm-sized pistol from his waistband. Ezra Zheng's hair stood on end in an instant. "You're trying to kill me." "No, I won't kill you," the kidnapper sneered sinisterly. "I want $1 billion. Fine, I can have them transfer it to you right now. Let them go." The kidnapper wagged a finger. "No, no, no, with $1 billion, you can only save one." Ezra Zheng's brow furrowed deeply. "You want $2 billion. I can afford it, but you might not be able to handle it. Greed knows no bounds." "No, I only want $1 billion, and you can only save one," the kidnapper chuckled, revealing his true intent. "You ruined my family, Ezra Zheng. Now I want you to experience the same pain firsthand. All right, it's decision time. Will it be your childhood sweetheart and fiancé, or the mistress carrying your child? Young Master Zheng, you have 10 seconds to choose. Otherwise, this gun will take 2 lives. 3, counting the unborn child." I closed my eyes. There was no need for hesitation. I already knew what choice Ezra Zheng would make. This kind of choice between me and Myra Liu is completely unnecessary. It's not like we're the female lead and the mistress in some tragic drama, where the male lead has to agonize over his decision. How Ezra Zheng would choose, all 3 of us know perfectly well. How boring. This kidnapper must have watched too many cheesy romance dramas to pull this nonsense. Myra Liu. The moment this name came out, I felt a sense of settling dust and peace. Mad. Those who do evil will inevitably bring destruction upon themselves. I've been cold-hearted and indifferent all my life. Never thought I'd stumble over this. I mocked myself silently. I always thought it was good to have no feelings for Ezra Zheng. But now, look at this. He didn't even hesitate to abandon me, his so-called plastic fiancé. The kidnapper burst into laughter, seemingly deranged. Young Master Zheng really didn't hesitate, did he? He's already made his decision. And I haven't even started counting yet. Myra Liu. I choose Myra Liu. Don't hurt her. I can give you money, as much as you want. Here's this card. I'll give you 500 million first. Just let me go in and see her. Ezra Zheng's anxious and desperate voice felt distant and cold to me. Good, since you've made your choice, that person can be taken away. What a pity though. The other little beauty will have to stay and keep me company for some fun. Ha ha ha. To be able to play with the woman of young Master Zheng in this lifetime. I can die without regrets. The kidnapper grabbed me by the hair and lifted me up. I watched calmly and indifferently as Ezra Zheng and Myra Liu embraced each other affectionately. Ezra Zheng's hands trembled as he untied Myra Liu, carefully picking her up as if handling fine porcelain, whispering soft words of comfort to her. He carried the person past the kidnapper without even glancing at me, the cold muzzle of a pistol pressed against my temple, leaving me frozen in place, helplessly watching as the 2 of them walked further and further away. Then, heavy breathing sounded right beside my ear. "Ezra, will Miss Pei be all right?" Myra Liu furrowed her delicate brows, her hand resting on her swollen belly, feigning concern. Ezra Zheng's jaw tightened as he held her hand steadily. "I've called the police. It should be fine. She's not important. I'm taking you to the hospital now. You and the baby must not come to any harm." Myra Liu's heart softened. She wrapped her slender arms around Ezra Zheng's neck. Leaning against his chest and listening to the unusual rhythm of his heartbeat, each frantic beat was a testament to his love for her. Ezra Zheng truly loved only her. Once Lena Pei was dead and the child was born, she could rightfully become the young mistress of the Zheng family. In this world, no one would ever compete with her for Ezra again. Myra Liu and Ezra Zheng spent several sweet months together, perhaps because they had survived a life-threatening ordeal. Ezra Zheng's protectiveness towards her skyrocketed. He practically wanted to tie her to his belt and take her everywhere. Though not officially married, they were more intimate than most couples, living a blissful life while eagerly awaiting the arrival of their love's fruit. On a winter night, New Year's Eve, after 10 months of pregnancy, Myra Liu finally went into labor. Ezra, I'm scared. Ezra Zheng gently kissed the corner of her lips to comfort her. Myra, you have to be strong. I'll be waiting outside for you and the baby. We'll welcome the new year together, with our baby. From now on, our family of 3 will be together forever. Tears welled up in Myra Liu's eyes as she nodded, and under Ezra Zheng's heartbroken gaze, she was wheeled into the delivery room. Ezra Zheng was stopped outside the delivery room and could only sit anxiously on the bench, waiting. Time passed bit by bit, and after what felt like an eternity, the light in the operating room finally changed. He rushed forward in a single stride, his eyes filled with hope as he looked at the doctor. The doctor's gaze was heavy with sorrow, shaking his head regretfully at him. Sir, I'm very sorry. The mother suffered a sudden postpartum hemorrhage after delivering the baby. We did everything we could, but we still couldn't save her. Ezra Zheng's lips trembled, pale with shock. As if unable to believe what he had just heard, he staggered back 2 steps, only to break down in uncontrollable sobs upon seeing the frail newborn cradled in the nurse's arms. His voice was mournful and pitiful, visibly filled with despair and helplessness, with an overwhelming emotional intensity that made even bystanders involuntarily empathize with his sorrow. Later, he returned to the delivery room in a daze to pack up Myra Liu's belongings. Click, click, click. I walked in wearing high heels, closed the door, and stared at his hollow gaze before finally letting out a mocking laugh. The Oscars really owe you a little golden statue. What are you doing here? Ezra Zheng frowned, clearly displeased. Just here to see how heartless you can be. My sister gave us Luyuan Manor as our new home. Such a huge place. Even if you kept a mistress there, I wouldn't mind. It's rare for young Master Zheng to have someone who catches his eye, so how could I not play along? Ezra Zheng lowered his gaze, masking his emotions. Too bad she isn't fortunate enough to live in Luyuan. Ha, I scoffed. Well, that's truly unexpected. There's nothing surprising about this. The outcome was sealed the day she partnered with Ezra Zheng. Ezra Zheng, everyone says I, Lena Pei, am cold-hearted and indifferent to human emotions, but who would have guessed that the seemingly noble and upright young Master Zheng is truly the one devoid of affection and righteousness? So, we 2 cold-blooded creatures are a perfect match, aren't we? Ezra Zheng said with a half-smile, his earlier sorrow completely gone. Indeed, so, I look forward to seeing my groom dressed to the nines at our wedding a month from now, and not running away again. I said with a radiant smile, our partnership. This is the end. But also the real beginning. The benefits exchanged through marriage will eventually produce a biggest winner. I'm quite looking forward to seeing who will ultimately emerge victorious in this grand game. Of course, I, Lena Pei, will never lose.